And we will, with Renu's approval and consent, we will share it on the website as well. Okay, I think we can start. 37 is a good number to start with. I think we can begin. Renu, are you ready to go?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So thank you everyone for joining us. Some of you had joined us on the webinar we had on Friday, the 10th of April. Thank you all for showing interest. We definitely want to do more of this. I guess the home quarantine was just a good excuse for us to get this started, but we definitely want to do more of this moving forward. Just to quickly introduce Renu to you, some of you may already know her, or most of you may already know her. So Renu Manish, she is a trained pediatric occupational therapist. Once again, request everyone to sort of mute your mics, please. She is certified in sensory integration and praxis, to conduct sensory integration and praxis tests. She, she has a certificate even in floor time techniques. And also, so her main forte is sensory integration and dealing with sensory processing issues in children. She's the founder of Adore Pediatric Occupational Therapy Center located in Somajiguda in Hyderabad. So Renu finished her graduation in Mumbai, and she's been, practicing for over 12 years now in this field. So thank you, Renu, for agreeing to do this with us. In fact, the topic that Renu will be handling, depending on, we may extend this webinar into a part 2 session where we do a follow-up webinar and also talk about more, because we may not be able to cover everything in one session today. And we definitely don't want to fit everything into half an hour and just overload you with too much information. So we will definitely break this down into 2 parts if there is a requirement for it. And we will let you know when the next one is scheduled, of course. So as I said, some of you have just trickled in, so apologize if I'm repeating myself continuously throughout the webinar. I would really appreciate if everyone put yourself on mute. During the session, whenever you have questions, please make it a point to post the question on the chat window and not use the mic. When the question answer discussion happens, I will read out the questions, the order in which they are posted, and if the person who asked the question would like to elaborate, please turn your mic on and feel free to have a discussion with Renu about this. Yeah. Okay. All right, Renu, over to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank Nai Disha team for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, parents and participants. And I'm hoping that this session is really informative and fruitful for all of you.
Sorry, Renu, one sec. Before you start, a few people have posted that they are not able to hear. Is this true for most of you? Could you please check your settings, because Aishwarya and I are able to hear everyone very clearly. Is everyone able to hear it? The majority of you are able to hear it. Yeah, so people can hear. So go ahead. Thanks, Renu. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes. Okay, so again, I'll repeat. I want to thank Team Nai Disha for giving me this opportunity to present. I want to thank parents, all participants, and I'm hoping that this session is really informative and fruitful for all the participants. Okay, so give me a second. Okay, so today the topic we are dealing is understanding and handling hypo or hypersensitivity issues in children.
हमको लगा 4:30 से देखे सर 3:30.
I think, yeah, too much disturbance.
Miss Pinky, please, Soumya, Miss Pinky, Erolina Rodriguez, Swati, could you all please mute your mics, please? I would appreciate everyone please putting their mics on mute. Miss Preeti Singh, yeah, okay, thank you so much. Yeah, carry on.
Okay. Yeah, so today I'll be explaining you many strategies which you can use at home setup. Okay, so before moving to strategies, I want you people to know few things. Like, because we know when child has sensory issues, the best approach which works is sensory integration. But what is sensory integration? Unless and until we know what is a normal process of sensory integration, we may not know what our children are facing. Okay, so let me explain few things before moving to the actual topic. Okay, being an occupational therapy, I have to tell you that occupational therapy is a healthcare profession offering support to people with physical, psychological, and social problems to enable them to live life to the fullest. So this is the official definition which is released by World Health Organization, that is WHO. Occupational therapists help people to do the everyday activities that they want to do and need to do when faced the illness, injury, and disability or challenging life events. So, in very short term, it says that occupational therapists will help a person to gain or regain a particular skill which is useful in day-to-day life. Okay, let's move to next thing, that is what is sensory integration. Okay, so you just before going to the definition, I want you to imagine a normal brain. Okay, so okay, before that, let me explain one more thing. That senses, what are senses or what is sensory stimulation? Okay, so sensory systems are divided into external and internal. So when we think of external sensory systems, vision, auditory, touch, smell, taste, all these come. And when we think of internal sensory systems, then there are two or three. So mainly two we are going to focus, that is vestibular and proprioception. So any change in the environment or any change inside our body is got by our sensory system. And the sensory system takes it as a sensory stimulation. Okay, so imagine a normal brain. When a sensory stimulation reaches the brain works on that stimulation in different stages and gives the output. So the output can be a physical or motor response, it can be our organized behavior, it can be our self-regulation. So that is what it is saying. Sensory integration is a neurological process that happens in brain, modulates the intensity of information. That is, brain takes what information is necessary at that time and ignores what is not necessary at that time. And then it discriminates the detailed sensory information. It works on the information in a detailed way and then it gives the output in the form of motor control, planning and organization. Okay, so when sensory integration doesn't work in a proper way, the result is sensory processing disorder. So what this says that a neurological condition in which sensory input, either from environment, that is external, or from one's own body, that is internal, which is poorly detected, then brain cannot modulate it or interpret it, and then the responses are atypical, what we see in our children. So that is the sensory processing disorder. Okay, so this is one example of sensory processing, or like I should say a normal brain which is having a proper sensory integration. This is an example. So you people just imagine yourself that you are sitting on a chair at home and you are reading a book, and you really like the book is interested for you. You are reading a book at home. There are certain small noises going around you which you don't notice because you are too much interested in the book. Again, you don't feel, I mean, the chair under you doesn't bother you because you are comfortable unless and until you really sit for a long time. then you don't have to think how to balance while sitting, because our sensory system does it automatically for our body. And even adjusting with the environment, like it is hot, it is cold, it happens automatically. And the credit goes to our sensory system. But this doesn't happen in our children having sensory processing disorder. They have to struggle for each and every stages I have mentioned above. They have to pay their own what should I say? I mean, they have to concentrate on balance. They have to concentrate on not to look around, and they have to concentrate on the outer environment. So it is lot of energy taking for them. So when the sensory integration happens in a normal way, there are many higher functions in our brain, like thinking, planning, memory, speech, language, then comes communication, logical thinking, analytical thinking. So these, they grow automatically or they develop automatically when sensory integration occurs in the brain. But in our children, they don't uh, develop age appropriately. Or I should say one develops, one remains behind. So using them as a whole is very difficult for our children having sensory processing disorder. Okay. So today our topic is basically hyper and hypersensitivity and seeking. So I just want you to know that when we say sensory processing disorder, there are many other categories in that. So we have to think little beyond that. So sensory modulation disorder, that is where brain doesn't know what is important and what is unimportant. That is called as sensory modulation disorder. Under that, all are issues like sensory over responsive is hypersensitive, under responsive is hypersensitive, sensory craving is sensory seeking. So all these categories fit under it. So other category is sensory based motor disorder, in which the brain processes the stimulus, but uh, it doesn't process it so properly. So the outcome is, these children, they are not able to use their body appropriately. They have too much of postural issues. They cannot maintain their posture throughout the day. So the problem occurs. And last one is sensory discrimination disorder, where brain takes the important information but doesn't know what to do with it. So so the problem comes in. And let me be clear that a child who is having sensory modulation disorder, that is hyper or hypersensitive or seeking, may have sensory based motor disorder or may have sensory discrimination disorder. I mean, every child is unique. So unless and until, as a therapist, if I work with a child for 2 or 3 sessions, I would know a child in a better way. Okay, so this is a small tabular form where we can see what is hypersensitive or hypersensitive and seeking. So hypersensitive means it is aversion or excessive response to a sensory stimuli which may appear normal for others. So we may feel that the stimulus is very normal, but child feels it very exaggerated. So in that case, child gives the response in two ways, that is fight or flight mechanism. So fight means child gets aggressive, child may turn up with some kind of aggressive behavior, or flight means child leaves the situation and runs away from that situation basically. Okay, so commonly sensory system involved for hypersensitivity is vestibular, touch, visual, auditory, olfactory and gustatory. Uh, so next is hypersensitive, that is seeking. Actually, as a therapist, I see hypersensitive and seeking, they are different. But as a parent, I don't want you to get confused, because when it comes to home strategies would be the same. The way in which you are working with the child, they are almost similar. So you just forget it. You just think that it's a one condition only. So hypersensitive means sensory input doesn't have as much impact as it does on most of the people. And in this case, child may register to child may fail to register the important sensory information. What this means that, okay, child who is hypersensitive is sitting and playing, and suddenly child gets an ant bite. We can see it, but child may not register that. So in that case, we can say child is hypersensitive to touch. Commonly involved systems are tactile, that is touch, vestibular, proprioception, visual, and auditory as well, which I forgot to mention. Uh, okay, so in our sensory seeking category, child is craving or seeking for a particular sensory input. If the child is having visual seeking, then the child seeks visual input. If it is vestibular, child seeks vestibular input. So it depends on which system child is craving. Okay. Now, these are few behaviors which we can divide it sensory wise to know parents better. So, okay, and as we have discussed earlier, that today we'll be covering only vestibular and proprioceptive, that is internal sensory system, because somehow we couldn't fit everything in one webinar, so we have decided to go for internal and external sensory systems like that. So today it will be only vestibular and proprioceptive, that is internal sensory systems. So hypersensitivity to vestibular system. How? What are the signs and symptoms a child shows? Okay, so child is extremely fearful of movement. It can be either whole body movement or it can be just head movement, neck movement. So a child is not comfortable initially with any kind of movement. Child may avoid playground equipments. Yes. Uh, we often see that we have to force a child a lot to use them. Few children may use it also, but then they are stick to only one equipment where they feel comfortable. Again, shifting them to other is challenge for parent and child as well. And difficulty to keep balance because their vestibular system, they don't provide a good feedback to the brain. So they have issues in balancing. Moves cautiously, yes. You can see it that while climbing up, climbing down, same age children may run and our children may hold somewhere and they take a lot of visual support to act. So in these children, play is usually affected. The reason is they have limited gross motor play. They cannot play like other children play, and thus the social play gets affected. Uh, Again, difficulty maintaining attention. As we have seen earlier, their major focus is on balance, sitting balance, or some little movement, or the book moves. If they are writing, the book moves. They get no, they don't understand what is exactly happening in that case. So this is hypersensitivity. Let's move to hypersensitivity or seeking behavior. The major sign of these children is they crave movement in space. They are constantly in motion, especially a child who is seeking. So they need some kind of movement. It's either body movement, it's either neck movement. Then they will run in entire house. They will climb somewhere. They will jump, or they will do repeated patterns like climb, jump, climb, jump, climb, jump, because that is providing lot of stimuli to their brain. That vestibular stimuli, what they are seeking. They struggle to sit still and fidgety. If they are sitting, they will fidget. They will move their body. They will move their hands. They will move the pencil. They will move their neck. Some or other movement makes them more comfortable. So they do it frequently. Uh, they don't understand personal space and they are not manageable in open spaces. Yeah, that is a very common complaint which comes from parents, that our children are not manageable in birthday parties. They are not manageable if we take them to mall or restaurants because they want to use the space like anything. Yeah, if the child is extremely hypersensitive, like the child needs too much of vestibular stimulus to gear up, then the child may look clumsy. But once the child receives adequate stimulus, then the child becomes hyperactive. So from a clumsy to a seeking child. They can, easily shift from one category to other. Okay. So next is proprioception. When we think of proprioception, there is nothing called as proprioceptive hypersensitivity. So proprioception is only assessed in the terms of hypersensitivity or craving and seeking. So what are the characters? Children usually stomps while walking and running. We can hear when they are coming. Pushes against objects and people. They get the back pressure that is more relaxing for them. Then accidental breaking of toys or ripping of papers. This is, we usually see this thing. That when we get a new toy, child just plays with it for a minute or 2 minutes, then breaks. So that they don't do it purposely, but their joints and their muscles need that pressure. They tend to bump or crash into things. Again, the back pressure relaxes them. Chewing on toys or grinding teeth when forced to sit still. This is also commonly seen. Whatever they have in their hand, they keep chewing. Grinding teeth is very much common. Plus, if they are writing, the pencil is always in mouth, and the pencil shape you can say is always in a different way. They chew it so badly that the pencil may break, or it may break into pieces as well. Applying too much force or pressure, or applying too less force or pressure than required. This usually we see in writing. Either the pressure is too much or it's too low, but we are not able to read it. So this is typically of proprioception processing issue. Sometimes activities like pulling, pushing, deep touch, hugs, hanging, carrying heavy objects, children may like it. Okay, now let's move to the sensory strategies part. So before going to strategies, I want to clear a few things that sensory strategies should be additional to the regular therapy sessions. Because in therapy sessions, the therapy is very much specific to a child. It's too much child oriented, I should say. Whereas in home, we are making things, like whatever is available at home, we are making things out of that. So you should, these all are really good strategies. You can use it at home, but if you are having 2 sessions in a week, you can use remaining 3 days these strategies. If you are having 3, then you can make remaining 2 or 3 days these strategies. Okay. So sensory strategies, they are not sensory diet, but they can be a part of sensory diet. But yeah, sensory strategies you can use anytime, anywhere. There is no restriction on that. If you are sitting with a child, like tabletop activities, you can use few strategies as well. So it depends. Sensory strategies should be child specific. Yes, because if I give a strategy like jumping, so one child may respond very good to jumping, so that suits him. Other child, when as a parent you see that child is getting overexcited after jumping, then you don't give. Third child, you may feel that child is not getting affected. It is not positive or negative anything. Child is just jumping and going back. Then also it is not helping the child. So you, as a parent, you have to see which strategy suits best for your child. It works best when the therapist assesses the child during a session and then plans further. Yeah, as I mentioned before, because seeing a child in a therapy session is very much different than reading about a child. Okay, so when I see a child for 2, 3, 4 sessions, the picture is very clear in my mind and I can just plan strategies easily for a child. Strategies should be given in variety. Repeating same activity daily may not be effective as child loses interest. Yes, because see, for example, if I ask you a strategy like kicking, so when I give a strategy to you, which is like, okay, I will say give kicking to your child. So it doesn't mean that you have to give kicking daily. Okay, so because we are not going to teach the child how to kick, we are making a child ready sensorily to learn kicking automatically, like a normal child does. So that is our aim. we are not aiming to teach a particular skill to a child, because we cannot teach, and there are many skills in life, day-to-day activity. We cannot teach every skill. We have to make child ready to learn the skill as other children learn. So let's move to strategies. First is calming. When you feel that your child is really, like um, over excited, or he is not able to sit due to excitement, there can be unnecessary laughing, unnecessary crying. Once the child starts crying, he doesn't know where to stop, too much of movement. You can use calming strategies. What are the strategies? When you are dealing with the child, you should use a low voice, but the voice should be firm and little demanding. Like, you are not asking child, oh, you want to play swing? No, you are saying, come, let's play swing. So child doesn't have any other choice. Child comes with you and starts playing in that way. Uh, dim lights, because more lights, more excitement. So dim the lights. You can use deep pressure massage, joint compression if your child likes. Then slow rocking in a chair or a swing. You can use a slow rhythm music if your child is liking it. You can use a rhyme, what your child likes, because these are really calming for brain. When slow rocking or swing is really calming for brain. When the child is overexcited, never introduce new activity, because child is more excited with that. So use a familiar thing and slowly turn into a novel activity or new activity. So when I advise somebody calming, I always go with breathing and sucking activities, because they work wonder. I mean, they do really wonders for calming. Breathing is one of the power regulator and helps our body to calm down. It provides maximum oxygen to our brain. Uh, if your child does deep breath, that's fine. If not, then you can use few straw games, like give a straw to a child and ask the child to blow bubbles, feathers, ping pong balls, paper chips, pinwheels, or you can put a tray with water and ask the child to blow so that the water separates and child likes it. And if you find that the straw is really long, child doesn't have that much blowing capacity, cut the straw, make it half, and then the blowing, you can increase it like that. I mean, first you half, then you slowly increase the length of the straw, and use different activities every time. Okay. Then next is sucking activities. So sucking is equally calming as breathing. So sucking means what we can do is we can use straw to suck pudding, shakes, smoothies, thick lassi, or more traditional ways, ragi porridge or our suji porridge, which is liquid and somewhere in between liquid and thick. Uh, so it should be a thick liquid basically, where child is able to suck and he is getting something in his mouth. Sucking on chewing tubes or rubber tubings or just chewing tubes. So chewing tube should be again child appropriate. If child is not good with chewing, if you give a high resistant tube, child will not do it. If child speaks a lot, and if you give a low resistance, child may not like it, or child may not get anything out of it. So it depends on child's level. Deep pressure massage, as we explained before, you can use a little lavender oil for that. That is more calming for brain as well. Okay, so this is something like home-like space. This is I always prefer for a home strategy. Uh, home-like space is something. If you have a hammock swing where you can see me, the child goes like this. The position of child is like this. If you have that, you use it. Otherwise, make the child turn sideways. If the child is sleeping on sideways position, then slowly ask the child to touch his head to his knees. So the half circle position comes. So you can maintain that position for 10, 15, 20 seconds, whatever child permits you. That is the best calming strategy for brain. Weighted blankets, vest, weighted bands, you can use it because few children they get benefited with this, few they don't. So it depends on child. You can use it and see how it works for your child. Heavy work activities like pushing, pulling, hanging, they give instant calming to pain. So these all are proprioceptive. The last line what I mentioned, heavy activities, they are proprioceptive activities. So I will explain more in proprioceptive processing or activities. So
Hi,
just now we
sorry to interrupt, Renu. Just wanted to give you a heads up that it's 4. How much longer do you need to get to?
I have 3 to 4 more slides. I'll
Okay,
be
that's fine.
rushing. I'll be
Yeah, yeah,
rushing.
yeah. Oh, no, no, that's fine. I just wanted to get a sense. Maybe we take a break in another 5 minutes if that's possible.
Okay, fine.
Yeah,
I'll
thank you.
just finish the slides.
Sure,
Maybe then you take a
sure,
break.
sure. Thanks.
Uh, if child is really low alert and not able to attend properly, following activities can be tried. The, the voice quality should be firm and demanding, as I mentioned before. You may need to brighten the environment. Start with those activities which child likes. So, because if you give your wish, child will not come. Child is already very low alert. Then use variety of activities which generates excitement in children. Use fast swinging, fast rocking. Okay. So about this swinging and fast rocking, I'll mention in vestibular thing again. Uh, Activities which include running, jumping, hopping, rolling, etc. Again, this I will explain in vestibular. Heavy work activities, they are alerting and calming as well as, proprioceptive activities, they are really good to give instant results. So you can use it for calming and for alerting as well. If child seeks any of the input like touch, you provide different textures while playing, child will be excited with that. Preferably use light touch while dealing with the child. Now let's go to system specific activities. Hypersensitivity to vestibular system. As we have seen, they don't like movement. These children, they don't like movement. So we have to use slow rocking, slow swinging with them. And the main thing is child has to do it actively. Pumping the swing or the speed they want, they have to gain on their own. You are not going to force. Don't use physical challenging activities on swing and on floor as well as, because child doesn't want to move out of their range. So there is no use if you force them. It's better child always improve therapeutically, then you can get a better result in that way. Uh, as child improves, and this is my sincere opinion, that you have to consult your therapist for a child who is hypersensitive to vestibular, because these children are really sensitive. They are emotionally sensitive as well. So we are not going to put anything on our own to these kind of children. Okay. So again, heavy activities definitely help them, but jumping from height they will not do. Kicking they may not do. Climbing something they may not do. So what activities remain for us? Then pulling or pushing activities. So I will explain this again in proprioception. Hypersensitivity or seeking vestibular system, sensory system activities. Child, here we know that child needs more of movement. So use activities such as fast rocking, fast swinging. So when you are giving fast swinging, always use a target while doing this, because these children they may get lost in swinging. So that we don't want. We want our children to be alert on swing as well. So we are giving a visual targets like, okay, how many tube lights are there in the room, or where is the fan, where are the switches, and can you give me a high five, or okay, let me proceed little. Use activities like jumping, rolling, hanging, kicking, or combination of any of these two activities would help better. Like if the child is swinging, you can ask, okay, swing for 10 times and come here and kick the ball and go back. So that breaks the swinging thing. Child uses his body to kick something and goes back. So in that case, child is really using the vestibular activity what we are giving. You can use jumping, rolling together, jump 10 times, then go roll other side, again jump 10 times, come back here. And you can also do turn taking in that, like Okay, you keep jumping. You can ask child to keep jumping and you roll. Then child rolls, you keep jumping or kicking or stomping feet or something like that. You can add. Hanging, usually I ask fathers because they are more stronger. So father holds the arm like this, child hangs here, then father moves around with child hanging here. So that works best for child, which gives vestibular as well as proprioceptive feedback. Kicking, kicking can be anything like kicking a ball, or you arrange a zigzag way. A child has to kick the ball through that. Uh, Anything. See, as a parent, you have to be creative and you have to use different things to. I mean, when I say combination, you can use any two combinations what you want. Use heavy activities. I'll mention it again. Use movement activities initially and later go for sitting tasks. If you want to make the child to do tabletop activities, I want you to first work on the physical thing, then go to sitting. It works better. Okay, so our last thing for today is proprioceptive processing. Uh, all heavy work activities which are mentioned above would help process prop. So when I say pushing, so what comes under pushing? Like, okay, the first one is you are holding your hands and child is pushing you back, you are pushing child back. So in that way you can play with the child or ask the child to push and take you back. You push the child and take him back. You can ask child to push furnitures. You can say, oh, come on, let's shift the furniture from here to there. You help the child, let the child push. Then again, let the child push the trolley back, or if you take children out in a mall or something, let them push their own grocery trolley or any trolley which you have there. Carrying their own bag, you make it little heavier and ask them to carry. You can make it a play like, okay, let's go somewhere. We are going on a station, and then we are climbing a train, and then from there we are going somewhere. You carry your own bag. So like that, you can make a play thing out of that and help the child. Uh, so we are done with pulling, pushing. Then you can do physical activities. What we do, like push-ups or abs. So you can make it little more funful and play with them. Okay, so other activities other than physical, what you can use on tabletop is play doh. You can do various things with play doh. You can hide something inside, ask the child to find out. Then you can make shapes out of that. You can make alphabets out of that. You can ask the child to make small balls out of that. You can do rolling. You can make pizzas, burgers, anything what you wish. Therapy, it's another Play-Doh, which is usually all therapists use it. It doesn't dry quickly and it has resistances as well. Like I think yellow is the lowest resistance and blue is the higher. So whatever your child suits, you get that and you can play with that. In the same way, like you play with Play-Doh. Activities, again on tabletop activities, if you want to make the child do something, then then the activities you get should be having some kind of pulling things, like pulling toys, fixing toys which need a lot of pressure, fixing blocks again. Using weighted vests and bands may help to improve proprioception. This totally depends on child. In fact, I should say if you have weighted bands, you tie it around a ball or you tie it around a glass or something and you can play catch and throw with it or you can play kicking. Then you can, hide the weighted things behind something and ask the child to find it out. That will give more prop to a child and child will be more active in that case. Okay, I think I'm done with today's webinar. Thank you for all.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Renu. So that's great. We've already started receiving a lot of questions. So before we go there, I just want to turn this over to Aishwarya, my colleague from Naidusha. She just wants your attention for 5 minutes to fill up something for us. Aishwarya?
Yeah. Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have the Google form that we will be sending. It's the registration form as well as the feedback form. So you will have to fill it up. I'll be sending the link on the chat. So please everyone do fill it up because it helps us better when we are planning our next webinars. So please do fill it up.
So if you all could fill it up right now before we move on to questions, it's really not going to take you very long. If you all could just take a minute. Aishwarya, could you just share the link, please?
Yeah, I sent the link.
Yeah. So because it is on Zoom, it won't be hyperlinked. So you will have to copy paste the link that's just been shared. And please just take 5 minutes. Sorry, Renu, it won't take too long, but
that's okay. That's okay.
yeah, so we just need 5 minutes. This is only for us to understand who all have attended the webinar as well. So if you if you could all take a minute to do this, and only then do we move on to the questions. Did you all see the link, please? Yeah, okay.
If anyone needs help in how to open the form, if the form is not opening, please do let me know.
So Renu, while everyone's filling the form, so we will do another webinar on how many others, sensory issues do you think another webinar as a follow-up to this would be required?
Yeah, because see, basically when we deal, see, I want to explain one thing, that when a child comes to me with a sensory issue, then when I see that, oh, the child is having vestibular issues, it doesn't mean that child is having only vestibular. We have to work with the child in an overall sensory system, right? So I don't want parents to get into just system wise. So in second webinar, I'll be covering tactile, that is touch, visual, and auditory. So and in last slide, maybe in next webinar, I'll explain how these all senses work together and get a better outcome with that.
Okay, fine. Yeah. All right. One more quick thing. A lot of people are saying they can't click the link. We mentioned this. You can't click the link. Clickable links cannot be sent on Zoom. So you'll have to copy paste the HTTPS link that is sent to you in the chat box onto your browser, your Firefox or Google Chrome. You'll have to copy paste that link, please. You will not be able to click it on Zoom. So it will not open if you try to open it from the chat window. Okay, Renu. So we will definitely plan another one to address these issues. I see there are a lot of questions. Some really, all of them are quite interesting. I will try to do justice to as many as we can today.
Yes, let's see.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give it another couple of minutes, and if you could all please fill, because there are 54 of you and we only have a couple who have filled out. So if you could all please take a moment to do this, because that will be great. That will allow us to proceed further. And as we had mentioned, we will make sure the recorded webinar is made available to you, and we will let you know when we plan the next session with Renu as well. We will let you all know about it. Thank you, those of you who finished filling the form. I will start asking questions in just a couple of minutes. Renu, I will share because in the feedback we have asked questions about what else parents would like addressed,
Yes.
which topics were most useful to them. I'll definitely make sure I share the gist of the feedback that we collect from parents, even for you to be
Yes,
aware of.
yes.
I'll definitely
Because
do that as well.
because even I'll be more clear with that. Then the next
Okay.
webinar we can focus more towards what
Sure.
we want.
Sure. We just got a message from somebody who said, I've only attended the last 5 minutes. I can't fill the form. You can leave out the feedback, but please do ensure you fill the form because we need to know who all are there on this webinar right now. So you can just enter your details and leave out the feedback if you have not heard the presentation, but you would still be required to fill the form, please. So Sonal, if you could please fill the form, that will be great. Thank you. I'm going to give it another 2 more minutes and start asking questions. So then people don't have to wait because we've already noted half of the responses. So that's great. But I definitely do urge all of you to please, those of you who haven't yet responded, please, I really urge you to fill the form. It would be very helpful for future webinars as well. Okay. I'll give it a minute more and I will start the question. Going back to the order in which the questions were asked. Okay. So Renu, I'm just going to start with the questions. Those of you can keep filling it in the background. We'd really appreciate it. So the first question came in from Amir. Is it possible that a child can have both hypersensitivity and hyposensitivity?
Exactly, it is possible. One day you may feel that child is really hypersensitive. One day you may feel that child is really hypersensitive. So you have to address, like you have to use strategies which are child specific and on that time and on that day.
Okay. Hello, I have a 3-year-old boy with Down syndrome. He shows a little bit of hypersensitivity nature, especially when he he grinds his teeth and he also throws things. Suggest some exercises, diet or food to control it. This is from Mr. Viral.
I think diet and food, I may not be a appropriate person to tell. But still, Down syndrome means the child has issues in tone as well. The body tone is lower tone. So I leave all other things and just work on proprioceptive processing for your child. You can use a lot of heavy activities for child, which will help them to get a better tone as well, and also give lot of chewing tubes, or maybe if child is able to suck, do sucking activities more, do blowing activities more, and you can use maybe you can use few activities like holding water inside the mouth and moving tongue from right to left. All these kind of activities would help to improve her oral processing, his or her.
Okay.
I think that should be enough.
Okay. So as I'm calling your name out and your question, if you would like to elaborate on the question, please unmute yourself and please go ahead and speak. Just letting you know. Next question, going on to Mr. Anirudh, is a trampoline bad for a child with sensory issues? Does it increase the child's desire to jump more?
See, basically trampoline, I won't say it's bad or good, but trampoline doesn't need any active effort from child to jump. If your child is hypersensitive to vestibular, he may like it a lot, but he will not gain anything out of it. So what you can do is, if you are using trampoline, you can use different, it is in different way, like ask the child to jump till 10, then stop, The child waits, it's like turn taking. Then the parent goes up, jump 10 times, 15 times, comes down, again the child goes up, then asks, like jump 10 times, then throw the ball to me, stop. See, variations, when you have to ask the child to jump, stop and do something, jump, stop and do something. So in that case, it would help better. For a child with hypersensitive, trampoline child may or may not take. But if child takes, that is fine. There is no problem in that.
Okay. The next question is from Ms. Sudha. How can I teach my child to blow? She doesn't know blowing.
Okay. I think, see, blowing, if your child knows sucking, then if you teach consistently, child will come up with blowing. So as I said, as I suggested earlier, you cut the straw and let the child see the output. Because if you just ask child to blow, child may not enjoy. If you put some paper chips, paper balls, you can ask the child to blow. Child sees it, child may enjoy. Or start with a vessel. That is best because the auditory input from vessel is really, child gets excited and want to do it more. So if you have tried or I mean, can I talk to parent?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Whoever is
Sudha
asking, please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, Renu Sudha here. My daughter is 5 years and 5 months old. She can't blow. I try a lot. Try her to say blow. I give her straws, many varieties of straws in the bubble water, wherein if she blows, bubbles will come. I show it to her, but she doesn't follow it. She doesn't follow my instructions. She just chooses the straw when we give it to her.
See, I think if she is chewing straw, it means she is seeking orally. So you have to first settle her seeking part. You give her something like a chewing tube or rubber tubing. Did you try that?
No, it's not that all the time. When I give her to blow specifically, then
Yeah,
she starts.
because
I think she's not aware of how to blow.
Because she doesn't know how to do it, she might come up with that seeking behavior. That's what I feel.
Yes.
So I feel you just cut the straw and you show her the output. Just like maybe you ask her to blow in water tray where the water waves come, she can enjoy it. Or you put the bubble water in a tray and ask her to blow because the bubbles come out from the tray, she might enjoy it more.
Okay.
And first thing is cut the straw because the distance she may not cover with her blowing part. So try
small straw.
Small straws.
Okay.
Thicker and small straws initially.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Renu, maybe we can just remove the screen share and maybe we can see you on video just so parents can.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, the next question is coming from Ms. Anita. When the child refuses to stay in the class and wants to move around all the time, dislikes gentle touch, drools constantly, what's the management strategy for that, please?
Can you repeat it once?
When the child refuses to stay in class and wants to move around all the time, dislikes gentle touch, drools constantly, so what is the management strategy to handle this?
I think whatever she has asked, everything itself is a big topic. So I think I should first concentrate on why the child is not sitting in the class. Because then if I combine everything, it will be confusing for me as well.
Right. Okay, Anita, you can unmute yourself and add to it and have a conversation if you want to add some context to something.
All right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when we say child is not sitting in the class, there are different reasons. Child may not like children around him or her. Child may not understand what is happening around. He may be auditorily not processing the information what teacher is saying. He may not be able to do the things what other children are doing. Or a child is seeking, movement seeker, or child is having visual processing issues where teacher is showing something which he is confused. What exactly? Teacher is showing 2-3 things and saying something and everything is like child's beyond level. So child will not sit in the class. So in that case, before a child goes to the school, I want you to work. I want you to give that child some kind of heavy activities. which will organize the brain a little, and maybe then you see in the classroom. Or else, if teacher allows, after an hour, if as a parent, if they allow you to stay there, you take the child out, work some kind of activities with child, like jumping in the school. What we can do other than jumping, maybe if they have a playground, child will do hanging there, or if they have a swing, you can play on the swing for a while, and then get back the child to the room, and let's see how is the response. Because we if you ask me, so I'm unable to find out what is the exact problem with the child, because one by one, if we sort out, then only we can come to a conclusion.
The child is definitely vestibular dysfunction the child has. Because
I am not able to hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. The child definitely has the hypersensitivity towards the vestibular movement, because the moment she goes out, she's very, very happy, and she's in the own zone, doesn't like any touch or anything. And what is my conclusion is she must be having some problem with the auditory, because in the classroom there are almost 10 kids, and that noise irritates her. There's a reason she doesn't like, and probably even there must be too much of visual stimulation in the class. So, because this is an inclusive classroom, so maybe because of that, she just doesn't like to be in the classroom. But definitely, yes, she seeks the movement. She loves,
yes,
enjoys.
then it makes sense that you take out out of the class, provide some movement. You can, carry some kind of, if school allows, ask her to play in a ball pool. You give a lot of pressure to the child, give kind of movement, whatever possible in the school, and get back to in the classroom. If child sits for half an hour also, that's a big thing for us, right? So if the child is not processing auditorily, then maybe the teacher has to uh, focus more on the child. I mean, she really has to go near the child, talk to her, and give her commands separately than other children. So in that case, she might process better.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay.
That has been very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. This is from Mr. Anirudh. If the child has started shouting when he's very excited, how best to calm him down?
See, shouted means you can try breathing and sucking, because shouting is something which is oral, and if you give oral activities, that urge will go down. So start with breathing and sucking activities initially, and then later whatever is mentioned in calming strategies, you can use those activities.
Great. Okay. Moving on to Ms. Deepika's question. My son is 2.9 years old and he is not blowing. So blowing tips. I think this is a very common question that's coming up.
I think 2.9, I will not worry much. We still have to wait. Because 2.9 is still okay. If child is not blowing at 2.9, some children, they get delayed in this. So many other issues, and plus blowing is also not there, then we can understand that child is delayed, but still I feel we should wait for a few more months. And as I explained earlier, while blowing, if child sees the output, child is more happy doing it. So just see what is the interest of your child, because some children are very happy to see bubbles. After they blow, the bubbles come out. Or the best thing what you can do is, I'll just show, take a bottle, plastic bottle, you make a hole here and put soap water inside, put the straw inside, and ask the child to blow. The foam will come out, and that I have seen really many of the children enjoy. You can try that, but still, according to me, you can wait for 3-4 more months.
Great. Deepika, I hope that's convincing. Also, when you say you wait for a few months, when should a parent start, thinking about it? What is the age? Because you don't want to wait indefinitely. in case something's
No,
not
see,
right.
2.5 plus children, they get blowing. I mean, they understand how to blow. But when a child is not showing only one thing, then we don't have to worry. That's what I mean.
Okay.
So
Look
if
at it
everything, yeah,
holistically.
holistically, we have still time. We can
Sounds
wait.
good. Sounds good. Okay, thank you so much. Next is a question from Ms. Swati. Please talk about sensory issues and corner eyes.
Cornering eyes.
Yeah, cornering eyes. Yeah, I think that's what it means.
Yeah. See, cornering eyes can be vestibular or visual seeking, or it can be vestibular or visual processing issues, I should say. So when the vestibular eyes and brain connection or coordination goes down, children usually do this kind of cornering eyes. So, so we are not going to, focus more on cornering eyes, whereas we are focusing on the vestibular and visual processing. That is the only way where we can reduce it. Or if your child has got glasses, then I usually suggest when child has cornering and glasses, then you have to put glasses to the child because then it gives shield. So children don't do it, but only if child has got power and child is ready to wear glasses. Otherwise, the best way is providing more of vestibular and visual processing.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, Swati, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Actually, I also have my issues on auditory processing also. Like even if there is nothing, like even if it is calm around, sometimes he cries. These days he's crying all of a sudden, closing his ears. So this was there when he was a bit younger, and in between it was lost. And again,
See again, auditory and visual, as we said, we'll be covering in next webinar. So I think because if I go in that topic, this webinar questions will stay behind. That's what. What do you say, Ambika?
Sure. So Swati, we will be doing because
Yeah,
it was difficult to fit all topics in today's webinar, so we will break it into a part 2 as well.
I don't want to disappoint you, but that's the time need, I guess.
Yeah, I will make note that I definitely let you know personally about the next webinar because your question is very relevant to that. I will definitely make note of that as well. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll keep your question in mind. All right, moving on. We actually have quite a few, so I'm going to power through. The next is from Miss Neha. My son is 3.8 years old and doesn't want to take a bath, screams and yells. Always wants to play with vehicles only and wants to make him engage in other activities, but he doesn't show any interest. Neha, could you elaborate on that, please?
Hello. Can you
listen? Yeah, we can.
Hi. Actually, my son is 3.8 years old, and he can talk need-based. Okay. So he's initially he was not doing these kinds of things like when I was bathing him, he was not screaming. But nowadays, from since 6 months, he screams a lot. Okay, and he doesn't want to take bath. Second thing is that when we used to go to any community meeting or birthday parties or anything, seeing people, he starts shouting and yelling, and he doesn't want to be in that situation. He just wants to come out of that birthday party, or he wants to escape from that place. Third thing is that now he's going in a play school, so he's able to sit, he's able to do some of the other things like instructions he's able to follow. He has mild autism as been deducted has been diagnosed, so he is like he's able to do certain things. But when I'm putting him for studying something like writing or showing him reading or any kind of activity related to academics, like hold a pen or painting or crayons. So he is not at all he is not able to pick the crayon, he will throw it. Or if I'll give the paper to do some activity related to scissors, he will throw the scissor, he will throw the paper. Mama, no, no playing, no writing.
Does he ride bicycle?
He rides bicycle, tricycle
Oh,
basically.
tricycle. Okay. So how is the speed when he rides it?
He rides normal, like normally he
Okay,
rides
so
it.
it's not high speed or anything like that.
Sometimes high speed he wants, like at home he does that, like while playing and all, but normally in the playground I have never seen him riding very fastly. He's like following me only. So
Okay. Okay, so whatever you have said, so the image in my mind is come up with that. He is very activity specific, right? He doesn't want to do many variety of activities.
yes.
Okay, okay. So I want initially now we cannot go. I mean, we have to go very step by step. So I'll just explain you the first step. What you should do is, if he likes to ride bicycle, then use bicycle as a positive reinforce for the child. Like you take the bicycle in the bathroom and ask him, okay, let's wash bicycle today. So let's wash bicycle's hands, then you wash your hands as well. So whatever the child likes, you just start with it and make that object, I mean, take that object's help basically. Okay, and other thing is, okay, if child wants to ride bicycle, then let him allow, put numbers in the rounds like, okay, let's ride for 5 times and let, now bicycle is tired, let's feed the bicycle. So you eat one almond, give one almond to bicycle and then go back. So that way you will break and will make him more aware of other things around him. So you can use uh, uh, anything else. I mean, in your mind, when I'm saying that, anything else comes in your mind.
Yes, because he's playing a lot with vehicles. You know, in the whole home, I have only trucks, container trucks, toys, cars, and
Uh,
Hot Wheels. Only these things I
See,
have.
okay, I think if I need little more information about your child, because
So,
but now,
we can
because
help you get Renu's contact details. Sneha, maybe
yeah,
this
that
requires a much more elaborate discussion. Maybe we could do this
yes, yes,
offline. I think
I
that
want
would
to
be
know him
better.
more.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
So what we would do is, for those of you who, I'll get Renu's permission and send her email address so you can correspond with her and get in touch with her for more specific discussion on specific issues. We could do that as well. I will make note and send it to you, Sneha. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Moving on to the next questions, I'm just going to, if we could, sort of, we have quite a bit of ground to cover. Moving on to Miss Soumya, my son is 3.5 years old and he doesn't show interest in any activity. How do I teach him? My son has a mouthing issue. Please share tips to help
Okay,
stop.
probably your son is not yet ready to sit and work. So, what I would suggest that you give him lot of physical play for next few months. You can now, I think in quarantine we cannot go out, but playground equipments are best to give physical play. At home you can create play whatever strategies you have learned from. Because if the child is not ready, we cannot force the child to sit and do. Uh, if because the development is like this only initially, even when we see a developmental a child who is developing normally, they will not sit and do anything initially. Okay, a child who is 1 and 2 years old, they will run here and there, they'll go somewhere, they'll take out. So we have to think in that way only. If child is not ready to sit, we have to provide them a lot of physical activities initially for few months and then take the child tabletop activities.
Okay.
Anything else? Do they need?
Okay. Anything else could be, I will share your contact details, Renu. If more elaborate discussion, we can take it offline. Otherwise, we won't be able to get through all the questions here. Next question is from Ms. Sonal. Please suggest activities for low muscle tone. Her child is 3 years old.
Ma'am, Sonal here.
Yeah.
Ma'am, my child's diagnosis is Rett syndrome.
Okay. Okay, so child is having any kind of medication at present?
No, ma'am. Recently diagnosed, she and the doctor told her she is still a milder case because she walked and crawled at right time. Physically, her milestones were fine. She regressed at around 2 years old age. She had few words before that, around 10. After regression, she is non-verbal now.
How old is she?
She's 3.2 years.
3.2 years. Okay.
So right now the more emphasis is on ADLs and a lot of physical work because she's vestibular and proprioceptive
See, ADL, I feel you should not work because she is 3. None of the child who is 3 years old, we concentrate on ADL. Okay, so leave it for another 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Even child is not self-feeding, don't worry much. Okay, regarding Rett syndrome, how was the onset?
I just realized 6 months ago that she was doing a lot of hand wringing and bringing the hand to mouth kind of things. It's very recent, and the diagnosis is also 3 months ago, in fact, just before the corona.
Fine. Okay, so she walks, right?
She walks, she climbs the ladder, she climbs really nice. She has good sense of balance also. So she cannot jump and cannot run, but her walking and climbing is good. So I make her climb a hanging ladder, I make her climb stools and whatever.
I feel if you give her little heavy activities for her body, like climbing a bed or climbing a sofa, then like pushing, kicking.
Ma'am, her muscle tone is low, and
Yeah,
she's low weight also for her age. So that kind of activities are little difficult for her, and she's just understood gripping, that making a fist and gripping an object. She's just learned right now. I want to improve on that so she can like pick a bucket, small bucket containing some 5-10 clothes.
See, at her level only you have to give her, because I'm not asking you what is difficult or what is heavy for you. You can't give her, right? So maybe just carrying her own school bag with just 2 or 3 books inside, you can use that. Then you have to play a game like, okay, let's go to school. So she has to carry it for longer.
Okay.
Then again, carrying own bottle in hands, or maybe you just have half kg weight, then you can give her that and ask her to throw somewhere, ask her to kick that weight, or in any posture she's comfortable, you can use these activities. In sitting and standing, whatever her choice, you can use these activities. But I would prefer to give her a lot of climbing.
Okay.
Climbing on sofas, climbing on beds. You put pillows and ask her to climb. Then from there she has to go to bed again. So this will give her a lot of benefit.
Okay, and should I work on blowing right now? I tried almost 6-7 months.
Sonal, sorry, we have quite a few questions to go through. Could you please restrict this to just this for now, please?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Ma'am, there is one more question I have asked later to suggest some reading material about this for sensory integration.
Okay, I will check with Renu and I will share that with everyone here. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. No worries. Next question is from Mr. Ashish Kadam. What is the main difference between hypersensitivity and hyposensitivity for them to be able to identify? Okay, go on.
I think I have explained it clearly.
Yeah. So what we could do is I'll check, Mr. Ashish, I will check with Renu, and see if we can make the presentation available or some material available from it. And we'll make it available to you, to everybody. And like I said, the webinar will be, we have recorded it, we will be sharing it. So you will have access to that as well. Because this is, I think, a much more broader question. It will be hard to sort of get into it now.
Yeah, and I think I have explained in slides, which is,
yeah,
it is mainly for parents to understand in an easier way.
Right. Okay. Going to the next question. This is from Ms. Lalita. My son has tactile defensiveness. Sorry, everyone, please bear with us. I know we are running over time. Just a few more questions and then we'll wrap it up. My son has
tactile. We have not covered.
We are not covered. So this should be relevant to next. So Ms. Lalita, we will address this when we do the next webinar, which
sure, thank you.
Vestibular and tactile will be addressed. Yeah.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Next question is moving on to Ms. Rajalakshmi. How does skipping help a child? And he's skipping.
Skipping, you mean a rope skipping or just rope? Like leg skipping?
Yeah, it is skipping rope. I'm the one who asked the question.
Yeah. Skipping rope is too much coordination. If your child is able to do that, would be the best thing. It gives lot of vestibular stimulus, but plus lot of body planning. It has not too much, what should I say, child really has to plan movement. So again, the vestibular proprioception, they have to work together to get the skipping done. If your child does, that is best. Let your child do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Next question is from Mr. Ravi. How to control repetitive movements? I think there would be a little more elaborate information needed for Renu to get into that. Is there something you would like to say, Renu, or should I have them get in touch with you?
Yeah, I have to ask the parent. I mean, what kind of repetitive they are asking?
Yeah.
What type of this?
Yeah, if you could, is Mr. Ravi around? I think he's not around. No, he is around. Mr. Ravi, without going to, without being too elaborate, could you briefly just say in what context you mean this? Mr. Ravi? Okay. I'm going to move on just because we have a few other questions. Sorry, I just lost track.
Hello, madam.
Yeah, Mr. Ravi
speaking. Yes, ma'am. Repetitively moving hand, madam, and jumping. That is the main.
Flapping hands, you mean?
Yes. Yes.
Movement?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So basically, flapping hands, it can be either proprioceptive seeking, where the joints they need a lot of stimulation, or it can be the visual seeking, where child likes to see flapping hands, where the hands are moving and child enjoys it. So I want to know it more.
Yes,
because
madam.
whenever
seeing the lights, whenever excitement, sometimes he is moving hands.
Okay, so okay, let me answer you a little. So whatever proprioceptive strategies I have mentioned, I want you to use it for a month or so and then see. I'm sure that there will be a difference in this.
Yeah.
Are you listening to me?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
We will share the presentation, sir, so you can look at the. It will be shared on our. We will share content and the footage on our channel, so you will be able to see it. Yeah. Okay. Please, I would just request everyone to try to keep their questions. I mean, answering very broad questions right now will be very tough given we don't have much time. So if you could, moving forward, if you could just, I mean, let's not have more questions because there are quite a few. I'm just going to power through one or two more, and the unanswered questions, Renu, if you don't mind, I will email it to you, and if you could address that.
Yes. I would take time, but I'll surely do it.
Sure.
Now we have a lot of time.
Yeah.
I'll do it some or other day.
Yeah. Okay. So let me see. One is Mr. Rushil Lakineni. My son is 8 years. He gets hyper. He gets hyper Mr. Rushi, could you please ask the question yourself?
Like as per your explanation, my child is a hypersensitive.
Hypersensitive to?
Whatever calming strategies I have seen, like when suddenly he will be like, if for example we are going somewhere, suddenly he will he just turn off, like he doesn't want to go there, then he will jump. Or else when we are at a home, when he is watching rhymes or something, if we take the phone, this happens only rare cases. Suddenly he will jump and throw the things. Then I'll make him calm by rocking chair.
Okay.
And after rocking the chair also, he's not been calm. He want to push, get up from the rocking chair and push us.
Okay,
Again he will sit.
Okay, so what I understood is, when your child does that kind of aggressive behavior, it is the way he communicates with you. Because he doesn't know other ways to say no, he is using that, that behavior. So if you can slowly turn that behavior, like if he's jumping, so that means no. So you teach him other way. Teach him some other way, like nodding head or holding your hand or any other thing which is very simple thing for him.
Like when he is at that moment, normally he listens whatever we say, but at that moment we are unable to convince him, or he is not ready to accept whatever we are trying to do it.
Okay, so that is a basically modulation issue, because children, for children who are having modulation issues, transition is very difficult for them. Once they are into one thing, they want to be into one thing. So at present, I don't have answer on this, but if you take somewhere occupational therapy sessions, I think after frequent sessions you will find a change, because as the adaptation improves, child is easily manageable from one to other situation. So because we cannot work for this specifically, it is the overall modulation we have to work.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. We will take the last question now, and all the unanswered. I will just quickly walk through the names of the people who posted the question, so we can get your number and contact details, and I can note it down, and I will have that addressed by Renu. So the last question, I don't see a name, so I don't know who it is. My son is 11 years old. We have a hard time getting his hair trimmed. We did everything suggested by experts, but nothing is fruitful. Please advise how to overcome this issue. Trimming of hair.
Child is tactile defensive.
Whoever it is who posted this question, could you please unmute yourself? Yeah, I don't know who it is, unfortunately. Okay, Renu, if you could just quickly add something to it, or would you need more input to be able to answer that question?
Because if they are taking sessions regularly, then it might be child's behavior, or then we have to think it from a behavior way. If the child is not taking any kind of therapy, then we have to work in a therapy.
Okay, all right. I don't think the person is around to answer. Okay, quickly, I think let's wrap up. I'm just going to get details of, so Ms. Lalita has asked a question on tactile defensiveness, and I think that you plan to address in the next webinar, right, Renu? So Ms. Lalita, if you could make sure you do register for the next webinar for this to be answered, that will be great. The other question is from Deepika on nail cutting and hair cutting tips. So there was a similar question just now about hair trimming. Do you quickly want to add some context to your question, Deepika, so Renu can quickly add some insight before we wrap it up?
Actually, hair cutting, trimming, nail cutting, this goes under touch. But still, if
so it's all tactile. Oh, it's all tactile.
Yeah, it's more of tactile. Yeah.
Okay. Soumya, and Priya. There's a question on paddling. There's a question on mouthing. So these questions,
Question on?
mouthing everything. So that is one question. The other question was from Ayushi. Child gets very aggressive. How do I tackle her? I think, Ayushi, that's a very broad question. Renu would need more context to be able to give you some sort of insight into telling you how to handle the aggressiveness, because you have to first understand why it's happening and get to of it before even suggesting. So I would highly recommend, I will share Renu's contact details, and you can, get in touch with her to delve into it deeper, because it will be really difficult to address that right now. The other question from Ms. Vanilla, this is on, doesn't accept sensory processing. So Ms. Vanilla, can you quickly unmute yourself and just ask your question here? I think there are just these two more, so then we can wrap it up. So my son is 6 years old. He has good IQ and communicates well, but doesn't understand emotions. This again, I think, is a very broad question. We can't discuss case studies here, please. So if you could get in touch with Renu, because this is a rather broad topic right now. So again, Renu, I will pass your contact details here. There's another question by Soumya about spitting. How do I teach spitting? And apparently she does give bitter food also, but that still doesn't sort of get the child to spit properly. How do you get the child to practice spitting?
Yes, I think before spitting, we have to teach child blowing and sucking.
Okay.
If child is good in blowing, child can spit easily.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so that way I think we have to go.
We have to. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I'm Soumya. Just now, you have answered my question regarding the spitting. Actually, he knows how to blow. He blows the candle. He blows the thermocol balls, peppers, and all. He knows sucking everything. I never had a problem with these activities. Only with the spitting part, I had a problem. But though I'm giving neem powder or menti powder or bitter kind of things also, I couldn't able to make him understand how to spit.
Okay. So one more thing you can try. You ask him to hold water inside his mouth. And,
Even
that gives a lot of.
He could able to do that. Yeah, he does that also.
Did you try teaching him spitting in front of mirror?
Actually, the thing is, all these things he naturally got. But in my first question itself, I told he is not interested in any activity which I teaches him. Apparently, he does all these activities in therapy only, therapy classes. Whenever me and my husband tries to teach him anything in at home, he never shows any interest. Again, he comes and hugs us or give kisses and make us. It's like he melts us tactically. Please don't teach me that kind of science. He'll throw at us.
So he understands everything properly. That's what you mean, right?
Not everything, but some general things he can understand. If I say like, let's come to bath, he'll come. Let's go. Come, we'll go out. He will come. Jump. If I say he will do everything, he will do. Take the bottle, and he'll take the bottle and he will have water and all. But some things he will not understand. But if I tell him, if I try to make him understand also, he will not show interest.
Okay, I think at home, then you need to provide more of therapeutic things. Like we have mentioned few activities what the child likes, or suppose if he likes hanging. Okay, so ask him to do hanging for 7, 8, 10 times, then come and spit. And again, go back to hanging. You can use those activities at home, or you can just play a game like 4 or 5, whoever present at home. You can just play few games like, okay, now I am holding the water, I am spitting. Now your turn. Now your turn. Now your turn. Anything like that, or maybe you try blowing also more. That's what I suggest, because more blowing makes them very easier to spit properly. more of blowing activities. So make it little difficult, like initially put the, while blowing or some, if you're giving a straw, put the paper balls near, then slowly make it little far so that he has to blow hard. Because a lot of oral activities will help him to understand what is spitting and teach him in front of mirror. That will be more fun for him. So he spits on the mirror, that comes back to him. It is not really clean, but that's okay. If a child is learning in that way, we can use that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, Swati, I know you had posted a message. I don't know if you're around, but you had posted that your question was skipped. It was only because it was on tactile issues, and Renu had said she will address it in the next webinar. So I think let's wrap it up here. Anything that remained unanswered, in the chat box, I have left you my number. Please send me your questions and give me some context when you post this question that you had attended the webinar. Also, please, if you could try and make the questions brief. If it is a much broader discussion, it would be more effective if you go and consult with Renu separately. But if it's something very generic and to the point, you can send it to me and I will pass it on to Renu. Those of you who haven't yet filled the form, I would highly urge, once we wrap it up now, you please fill it up and then you quit the webinar. So thanks a lot, Renu. I really appreciate the time you put in to prepare for this and do this and it went way over time compared to, so clearly there was a lot to discuss. Also, let's talk offline about when the next webinar can be, and we will post it on the group. So one difference, parents, those of you are here, there was some confusion some of you had with regard to the Zoom link. It probably didn't reach some of you. So moving forward, what we are going to do, when we announce the webinar, we will share the Zoom link with the announcement, so you already have it. So then, it's easier to sort of join the webinar without having to worry about getting the link much later. All right. We will post the webinar recording on our YouTube channel and we'll share it on all the groups, so all of you will have access to it. I will share, those of you who need to get in touch with Renu, please get in touch with me on the number that I've posted, and I will take her permission and share her email ID with all of you for you to be able to get in touch with her. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Renu. Thanks for your time. Thanks a lot. Thanks. All right. So those of you who finished filling can leave. Those of you who haven't, please hang around, do so, and then quit. Renu, feel free to leave if you need to. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Renu. I'll get in touch with you offline.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye. Okay.